Welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. I'm so glad you're joining us today. If you've ever wondered how to scale your real estate investments from just a handful of units to, say, 50 or more, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big leap for many investors, right? But with the right strategies and mindset, it's totally achievable.
Exactly. Today, we're diving into some next-level strategies that can really help you make that jump. We'll discuss practical tips for scaling up, the importance of building a solid team, and how to identify the right opportunities in the market.
And don't forget about the financing options, Sarah. That's a crucial piece of the puzzle, knowing how to leverage your existing properties to fund new acquisitions.
Right. So whether you're sitting on a few rental units or just getting started, we're here to help you think bigger and bolder about your real estate journey.
Yeah, it's all about mindset, isn't it? We'll share some inspiring stories, too, to show you that others have successfully made this leap.
Definitely. And it's a journey that's available to anyone willing to put in the effort and learn. So let's get started on this exciting path to building wealth through real estate.
Sounds good. Let's jump right in. So, Sarah, when we talk about scaling up from, say, 10 to 50 units, it's not just about the numbers. It's really about what that means for people, especially those of us over 40, right?
Absolutely, Mike. It's like we're at a point in life where we're thinking about retirement timelines and how we want to secure our financial future.
Exactly. I mean, many folks in their 40s and 50s are looking at retirement in the next couple of decades, and real estate can be a solid way to build that wealth. But with inflation being what it is, it's more critical than ever to have a strategy that works against it.
Right. Inflation can really eat away at savings. I've heard stories from investors who, thought they were set with their 401k yes, only to realize that with rising costs, their purchasing power was diminishing.
Yeah, I remember this one client of mine. Let's call him Tom. He was in his early 50s and he had a decent amount saved up. But when he started looking at his retirement goals, he realized he might need a lot more than he initially thought just to maintain his lifestyle.
That's a wake-up call. So did he turn to real estate to bridge that gap?
He did. He started with a few single-family rentals, and then he realized the potential of scaling up. He moved to multifamily properties, which gave him better cash flow and a way to hedge against inflation.
That makes sense. Multifamily units can provide a more stable income, especially in fluctuating markets.
Absolutely. And it also speaks to the emotional side of financial security. Having that steady income can really ease the worries about the future, especially as we think about passing down wealth to our families.
For sure. I mean, it's not just about us anymore, is it? There's a legacy to consider. I know many investors who are motivated by the desire to leave something meaningful for their kids or grandkids.
Exactly. I've seen families where the parents invest in properties and then their children become involved as they grow up. It creates a kind of financial literacy that they can carry into their own lives.
That's such a valuable lesson. It's like you're not just building wealth for yourself, but teaching the next generation how to manage it wisely.
Right, and think about how the market is shifting too. People are increasingly looking for rental properties as housing prices soar. That's a trend we can't ignore.
So true. With homeownership becoming more challenging for younger generations, renting is becoming the norm. It creates a consistent demand for rental units.
Yes, and that's where the opportunity lies. If you can scale your portfolio to 50 units, you're not just surviving, you're thriving in this environment.
And it's not just about the numbers, but the lifestyle it can afford you. Like, imagine being able to travel more, spend time with family, or even pursue passions you might have set aside.
Exactly. That financial freedom can change your life. I had another client. Let's call her Lisa. She was working a demanding job and had little time for anything else. Once she scaled her portfolio, she was able to cut back on her hours and focus on what she truly loved.
Wow, that's inspiring. It really shows how real estate can transform lives, not just financially, but emotionally too.
And it's so important to remember that the earlier you start, the more time you have to grow your investments. Even someone starting in their 40s can build something substantial if they're strategic.
Right, and that leads us to think about current economic trends. With interest rates fluctuating and market dynamics changing, it's crucial to stay informed and adapt your strategies accordingly.
Yes, and seasoned investors often have an edge here. They know when to act and when to hold back. For instance, I've seen investors who bought during downturns and emerged stronger when the market rebounded.
That's a great point. Timing can make a huge difference, but it's not just about timing. It's about knowing your market and understanding where to invest your energy and resources.
Exactly. And remember, it's also about building a network of like-minded individuals. Connecting with other investors can provide insights and opportunities that you might not find on your own.
That camaraderie can really empower you. I've seen groups of investors come together to share resources, and it's amazing how much they can achieve collectively.
Yes, and that's where the power of mentorship comes into play too. If you're new to the game, finding someone who's been through it can save you a lot of time and money.
Definitely. It's like having a guide on a journey. You can learn from their experiences and avoid common pitfalls.
And for those who feel overwhelmed, they should remember that starting small is completely fine. You don't need to jump straight to 50 units. It's a journey, not a sprint.
That's such a reassuring thought. So let's transition into some core strategies that can help our listeners make that leap from 10 to 50 units.
So when we're talking about scaling from, say, 10 units to 50, one of the first things I always suggest is to really get familiar with the numbers,
Absolutely, Mike. Numbers can feel intimidating at first, but they're like your compass in this journey. What are some of those key numbers you think investors should focus on?
A great starting point is the asterisk 1% rule time. It's pretty straightforward. Ideally, you want your monthly rent to equal at least 1% of the purchase price of the property. So if you buy a property for $200,000, you should aim for a rent of around $2,000 a month.
Right, and that's a good quick check to see if a property might be a good investment. But it's not the only rule, right?
Exactly. There's also the asterisk 50% rule, NART. This one says that, on average, you should expect about 50% of your rental income to go towards expenses. So, if your monthly rent is $2,000, you'd set aside about $1,000 for things like maintenance, property management, and vacancies.
That makes sense. So if you're netting $1,000 after expenses, it feels like a solid deal. But how do you know if it's a good investment overall?
Well, that's where understanding asterisk cap rates times asterisk comes into play. The capitalization rate is a way to measure the return on an investment property. You calculate it by dividing the net operating income by the property's purchase price.
So if that property had a net operating income of, say, $12,000 a year, and you bought it for $200,000, the cap rate would be...
Right. You'd take $12,000 divided by $200,000, which gives you a cap rate of 6%.
And generally speaking, higher cap rates mean better returns. But you also want to consider the risks involved, right?
Exactly. A higher cap rate can indicate a riskier investment, possibly in a less desirable area. But it's all about finding that balance.
So when you're evaluating deals, what's your checklist like?
I keep it pretty straightforward. I look at location first. What's the neighborhood like? Is it growing? Then I assess the numbers, like we discussed, the 1% and 50% rules, cap rates. I also consider future developments in the area, schools, and local amenities.
That's a smart approach. It's not just about crunching numbers, but also understanding the community.
Exactly. And don't forget about financing options. A lot of people think they need to put down 20%, but there are alternatives. FHA loans, for instance, can let you put down as little as 3.5%.
Right, and that can really help with cash flow, especially when you're just starting out or looking to scale up.
For sure. And then there are things like asterisk portfolio loans, DONTs, which can be useful if you're buying multiple properties at once. They allow you to consolidate your financing, which can be a game changer.
So you can wrap several properties into one loan? That sounds convenient.
Yep, it simplifies your payments and sometimes offers better terms. Just make sure you're working with a lender who understands investment properties, though.
Good point. Now, what about property types? Are there specific types that you think are better for scaling?
Well, multifamily properties, like duplexes or fourplexes, are often a solid choice for new investors. They provide multiple income streams from one property, which can help mitigate risks.
And if one unit is vacant, you still have income from the others, right?
Exactly. And moving on to larger multi-units, like apartment buildings, can really amplify that effect. Plus, they often attract more serious tenants, which can lead to more stable income.
That's a good strategy. And what about single-family homes?
They can still be a great investment, especially in areas with high demand. But you should be prepared for fluctuating market conditions and potential vacancies.
So it seems like the key is to know your market well and understand what type of property aligns with your goals.
Definitely. And when you're looking to scale, consider the market's overall health too. You want to be investing where there's growth potential.
Speaking of growth, how do you evaluate whether a market is on the rise?
Look for job growth, population growth, and new developments. If you see companies moving in or infrastructure improvements, those are usually good signs.
And I imagine doing your homework on local demographics helps too, right?
Absolutely. Understanding the demographics can tell you a lot about the potential rental market. Are there young professionals, families?
All these factors come together to create a clearer picture.
Exactly, and that's why it's crucial to be analytical but also intuitive. You want to blend hard data with your gut feeling about a neighborhood.
That's a nice balance. But let's talk about common pitfalls, because I think that's where a lot of investors trip up.
Right, and one of the biggest mistakes is underestimating expenses. That 50% rule is a great starting point, but you should always have a cushion for unexpected costs.
So, things like major repairs or sudden vacancies can derail your plans if you're not prepared?
Exactly. And another pitfall is trying to stretch your budget too far just to get into a desirable property. Sometimes it's okay to walk away.
Wise advice. Keeping your financial health in check is crucial, especially when scaling up.
For sure, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Building wealth takes time and patience.
I couldn't agree more, Mike. Thanks for sharing all this invaluable insight.
My pleasure, Sarah. Happy to help. So, when we talk about the journey from 10 to 50 units, one of the biggest pitfalls I see is over-leveraging.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like when you're super excited about a property and you just stretch your finances a bit too thin, right?
Exactly. I once had a client who was really eager to expand their portfolio quickly. They found a great deal on a multifamily property, but they took on a mortgage that was way beyond their comfort zone.
Oof, that sounds risky. What happened?
Well, they were confident that rents would keep rising, but then the market took a downturn. Suddenly, they were struggling to cover the mortgage payments. They didn't have enough cash flow to manage other expenses, let alone unexpected repairs.
That's tough. So how can investors avoid that trap?
It's about being realistic with your finances. You should really stress test your budget. Imagine a scenario where rents drop or, you have to deal with a significant vacancy. If your cash flow can't handle that, then it's time to reconsider how much you're borrowing.
Right. And I guess that leads us to another common mistake. Bad tenants.
Absolutely. Tenant screening is crucial. I had another client who was more focused on filling their units quickly rather than finding the right fit. They skipped the background checks and ended up with a tenant who, let's just say, had a history of issues.
Oh no. What kind of issues?
Well, there were late payments, noise complaints, and eventually they had to go through an eviction process. It was a nightmare. They lost money, time, and a lot of peace of mind.
That sounds exhausting. So what should they have done differently?
Proper screening is key. Check references, conduct background checks, and the credit history. You want to find tenants who are not just financially stable, but also responsible. It's worth the extra effort up front to avoid headaches later on.
Totally! And I guess ignoring cash flow is another big one?
Yes. Many investors get so caught up in the potential appreciation of a property that they forget to focus on cash flow. I've seen people invest in a property that looks great on paper but just doesn't bring in enough rent to cover expenses.
That's really easy to overlook, especially when you're excited about a deal.
Exactly. I had a friend who bought a property in a trendy area, thinking it would appreciate quickly. But the rent was way below what they'd hoped for. They ended up with a negative cash flow, which, is a real problem.
And that can lead to a vicious cycle, right?
Yes. If you're not covering your costs, you might have to dip into savings or take on more debt just to keep things afloat. It's a slippery slope.
So what's the best way to ensure positive cash flow?
You need to do your homework. Research the rental market thoroughly. Look at comparable properties and their rental rates. Make sure your expenses, like property management, maintenance, and taxes, are all factored into your calculations.
And let's not forget about timing the market.
Right. Many investors think they can predict the market. They wait for the perfect moment to jump in, but timing can be really tricky.
I can see how that would lead to missed opportunities.
Exactly. I had a colleague who kept waiting for prices to drop in a particular neighborhood. They thought they'd get a better deal, but, they ended up watching prices climb higher and higher.
That's frustrating. So what's the alternative?
The key is to focus on the fundamentals rather than trying to time the market. If a property meets your investment criteria, like cash flow and location, then it might be worth moving forward, regardless of market fluctuations.
And hidden costs. That's another thing people often overlook, right?
Yes, definitely. A lot of new investors don't account for hidden costs like maintenance, property taxes, or unexpected repairs. I remember a client who bought a property thinking they had budgeted everything, but then they found out the roof needed replacing just a few months in.
Yikes! That must have been a big hit to their finances.
It really was. It's crucial to have a buffer for those unexpected expenses. I always recommend setting aside at least 10 to 15% of your rental income for maintenance and repairs.
So it's like building a safety net, right?
Exactly. That way, when something unexpected comes up, you're not scrambling to find funds.
And how can investors spot these red flags early on?
Great question. You want to do thorough due diligence on any property. Look for signs of neglect, like peeling paint or outdated systems. If a seller isn't maintaining the property, it could indicate future issues.
And asking questions is key too, I assume?
Definitely. Don't be afraid to ask the seller about any past repairs, tenant issues, or even how long the previous owner stayed. If they're hesitant or vague, that can be a red flag.
So, in summary, it seems like avoiding these common pitfalls comes down to being proactive and doing your homework.
Exactly. Take the time to research, screen tenants properly, and always keep an eye on your cash flow.
And if things don't go according to plan, there's always a way to recover, right?
Absolutely. You can pivot your strategy, reassess your investments, and, stay committed to learning. Real estate is a long-term game.
Well, that's reassuring. There's always a path forward.
Exactly. It's all about resilience and staying informed.
So what's the next step for someone who's ready to take their portfolio to the next level?
Well, it's time to set clear goals. Know what you want to achieve and build a plan that aligns with those objectives.
Sounds like a solid approach.
It really is. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Surround yourself with a good team. Real estate agents, property managers, and mentors.
That's great advice.
All right, so let's dig into some immediate next steps and tools that you can start using today to really propel your investment journey forward.
Yeah, that sounds great. So where should someone begin?
Well, first off, I always recommend getting familiar with some online resources. Apps like Zillow and Realtor.com are super helpful for researching market trends and property values. You can really start to understand what's going on in your area.
Right, and those platforms give you a good sense of pricing, right?
Exactly. And then if you want to dive deeper into financial analysis, tools like the BiggerPockets calculator or DealCheck are invaluable. They allow you to input your property details and analyze potential cash flow, expenses, and returns.
That's a smart move, especially when you're looking at multiple properties. What about assessing rental prices?
Oh, for that, I love using Rentometer. It's pretty straightforward. You enter the property address, and it gives you a rental price range based on similar properties in the area. This can really help when you're determining your potential income.
And you can use that to negotiate better, right?
Definitely. And don't forget about accessing your local MLS. Many areas allow investors to access this through a real estate agent, which gives you an inside look at listings before they hit the market.
Sounds like a treasure trove of information. What about books or podcasts? Any recommendations?
Oh, for sure. I'd suggest starting with The Book on Rental Property Investing by Brandon Turner. It's got a ton of actionable advice. And for podcasts, BiggerPockets podcast is a must listen. They feature real investors sharing their stories, which can be really inspiring.
Those are great ideas, and I think it's so important to continually educate yourself.
Absolutely. And another habit to consider is setting aside time each week to analyze one deal, even if it's hypothetical. Just get used to running the numbers and understanding the metrics.
That's a good point. It builds confidence and sharpens your skills.
Exactly. And find a local real estate meetup or networking group. Connecting with others who are on a similar journey can provide support and motivation.
Plus, you can learn from their experiences too, right?
Right. And don't hesitate to ask questions. People generally love to share their insights, especially if they've had success.
It sounds like building a network is just as important as the financial side of things.
Definitely. And, start small. It's okay to feel a bit overwhelmed at first. Just take baby steps. Maybe commit to analyzing those deals, attending one meetup a month, or even just reading a chapter of a book each week.
That's totally doable. A little bit at a time makes it feel less daunting.
Exactly. And before you know it, you'll have a solid foundation to build upon.
And don't forget to keep track of your progress. Journaling your journey can really help you stay motivated and see how far you've come.
That's a great idea. Documenting your successes and even your learning experiences can provide perspective when you hit bumps in the road.
It really helps you appreciate the journey, doesn't it?
For sure. So with these tools and strategies in your pocket, you're ready to move forward and expand your real estate investing knowledge.
Yeah, and it's exciting to think about where this journey can take you. So let's recap what we've covered today.
So as we wrap up our conversation today, it's really essential to highlight a few key takeaways.
Absolutely. First off, we talked about how scaling from 10 to 50 units isn't just about acquiring more properties, but also about developing systems that work for you, right?
Exactly. And that leads us to the importance of building a solid team. You can't do it all alone, especially when you're aiming for that next level. Surrounding yourself with the right people, that can truly make a difference.
Definitely. And then there's the financial aspect. Understanding your cash flow and leveraging financing wisely is crucial. It's all about making your money work for you, not the other way around.
Right. And let's not forget the significance of networking. Connecting with other investors and learning from their experiences can open up so many opportunities.
Yes, it's like you're not just building a portfolio, you're building relationships that can lead to future deals or partnerships.
Well said. And, for anyone listening, it's really about taking that first step and then just continuing to push forward. Real estate can be a powerful tool for building long-term wealth.
Exactly. It's a journey, and every small step counts. Remember, it's never too late to start investing and creating that financial freedom you've always dreamed of.
If you found value in today's discussion, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And if you know someone over 40 who's thinking about diving into property investment, share this episode with them.
And next time, we're going to dive into the world of syndication, partnering on bigger deals. It's a fantastic way to leverage resources and grow your portfolio even further.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
We'll catch you next time.